The iconic character John Rambo made his cinematic debut all the way back in 1982 with First Blood. Since then, the bodies have piled up in every movie that's followed over the span of 4 decades. This year, the Rambo franchise has grown to include 5 films in total, but only one John Rambo movie can be the best. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Hey there, I'm Kristian from 1 Minute Critic for FilmIsNow. Now that Sylvester Stallone's 5th Rambo film, Rambo Last Blood, is in theaters, it seems like a great opportunity to take a look back at the franchise and try to decide which Rambo movie is the best. But before I begin my ranking, we'd love to hear your thoughts and see how you would rank the Rambo movies. So go ahead and let us know in the comments down below and let's discuss. And in an effort to keep this video from being way too long, I'm only going to give a few points for each film, and there will be some spoilers. With that being said, here's how I would rank all 5 Rambo movies from least favorite to favorite.
Who are you? The worst nightmare.
At the bottom of our list, in last place, Rambo III. Released in 1988, this is the 3rd film in the franchise, and it comes only 1 year after Rambo II hit theaters. It also has the biggest budget of all the films in the entire franchise. Stallone reprises his role in the movie, which also marks the final appearance of Richard Crenna as Colonel Sam Troutman. In this movie, Rambo sets out to war-torn Afghanistan on a dangerous rescue operation after Colonel Troutman is taken hostage by invading Soviet forces. And with a little help from some local villagers, Rambo takes on the Soviet army head-on, leaving a trail of bodies along the way. In this movie, Stallone is extra beefy and more oiled down than John Rambo has ever been before. Even his hair looks bigger and better than ever. But despite being at the bottom of my favorite list, Rambo 3 has some of my favorite moments in the entire franchise, including Rambo playing chicken with a helicopter while driving a tank, and the infamous carterization scene. Now at number 4, Rambo First Blood Part 2. Known for having the most ridiculous title in the entire franchise, Rambo First Blood Part 2 hit theaters in 1985 and was written by Stallone himself, with a little help from an up-and-coming writer named James Cameron. This movie picks up immediately following the events of First Blood. Rambo is pulled out of prison to help with a top-secret recon mission in Vietnam to locate possible POWs. And Rambo finds those prisoners, tries to save them, but things get real ugly when the government tries to sweep the whole operation under the rug. Now this is arguably the most iconic of the entire franchise, having inspired countless rip-offs, parodies, and even a children's cartoon.
Rambo.
But in my opinion, Rambo First Blood Part 2 remains to be one of the cheesiest and the most anti-shirk in the entire franchise. And that brings us to number 3, Rambo Last Blood. Released in 2019, Rambo Last Blood is the 5th installment in the franchise and has the shortest running time at only 89 minutes. This movie picks up a little more than a decade after the events of 2008's Rambo. John Rambo is finally at peace, living on his ranch in New Mexico, but when his young niece is kidnapped by a Mexican sex trafficking ring, Rambo's forced to dust off his ruthless combat skills and get revenge. Now it's pretty obvious, the plot of this movie is not that original. In fact, it's nearly a carbon copy of 2008's Taken. But let's be real here, captivating original storylines have never really been a staple of the Rambo franchise. The buildup of this film may be a little slower than the others, but the payoff is spectacular, with some of the goriest violence seen in any Rambo film so far. Plus, you have to admit, it's pretty awesome to see Stallone still doing his thing at his age. It's for those very reasons I have Last Blood barely edging out First Blood Part 2.
Live for nothing. Or die for something.
That brings us to number 2, Rambo. In 2008, Sylvester Stallone brought John Rambo back to theaters after being missing in action for almost 20 years. This time, Stallone not only wrote the movie, but he also sat in the director's chair for the first time in the franchise's run. This movie takes place decades after the events of Rambo 3. John is living a quiet and solitary life in Thailand when he's recruited to lead a group of mercenaries into Burma to rescue a group of missionaries taken hostage by evil Burmese soldiers. For me, watching this movie was a lot like dusting off that old record you haven't listened to in decades. And it's even got some of Rambo's greatest hits, including his iconic red headband, his big old knife, and of course his penchant for mowing down baddies. And not only does Rambo return to his violent action roots, they supersize the violence, making this movie the most graphic of all the Rambo films. Honestly, the fact that this movie even came out was such a pleasant and unexpected surprise for all Rambo fans.
Don't push it, I'll give you a war you won't believe.
And that brings us to my number 1 favorite Rambo movie, First Blood. Released in 1982, this is the beginning of all things Rambo and helps solidify Sylvester Stallone as one of Hollywood's staple action stars. First Blood is based on the 1972 novel by David Morrell and follows a Vietnam vet with PTSD who's driven into the woods after a small-town sheriff falsely accuses him of a crime. There, he uses his guerrilla war tactics he learned in Vietnam to fight off law enforcement. Now, this movie is a lot different than all the others that followed. It's more of a character study and focuses on some of the political pitfalls of the time. It's also significantly less violent with only one death in the entire movie, and it puts more emphasis on suspense, not action. But it does lay the groundwork for one of the most iconic characters and franchises in all of cinema, and that's why First Blood is my favorite Rambo movie. Well, that's how I would rank the Rambo franchise, but what do you think? Do you agree or disagree with my list? I'd love to see how you would rank Rambo, so go ahead and share your lists in the comments below. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and share it with all your Rambo-loving friends. Once again, I'm Kristian from 1 Minute Critic. Feel free to check out my channel. I do 1 minute movie reviews, ranking videos, and other movie-related content. The link is down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching Film Is Now, and we'll see you next time.